consistently good writing. So rare these days. Huh? What is that? Is that some kind of... Tapioca shark wolf potato monkey.
Why do things keep hitting me in the head?
Why does it look like a silver...
Oh, greetings, Angry Spork. It's me, jolly old St. Nicholas.
Santa Claus? You're real?
As real as your transformative rage ring, your machete, or your talking wine bottle associate.
Okay, fair enough. But why the silver bell to my noggin?
Oh, really? I guess that delivery elf will be getting a write-up. But what Santa wanted to talk to you about was your lack of jolly spirit.
What do you mean?
Why, just think about it, my lad. You spend so much time raging about comic books you dislike, things that go wrong. How much time could you spend putting some positivity in the world, making things better for other people?
Huh. You know what? Maybe you're right. I should do something for the people. I should do more. I should...
Yes?
Fix Tinian's Detective Comics run.
What? Santa was actually talking about volunteering or donating old clothes or...
You heard the Jolly Fat Man, people. This season's going into overtime.
Ho, 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 well, Santa tried. Now I need a belt of eggnog.
If Ask the Bat would tell you, someone's got to stand up to all this sin.
Hello, I'm the Angry Spork. Earlier this year, I reviewed James Tynion IV's run on Detective Comics, and how do I sum up quickly just how I feel about it?
It sucks so friggin' much, it sucks so friggin' much.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. Thanks, Central Park. Anyway, one of the commenters on one video asked me how I would have rewritten the Victim Syndicate, among other details. I couldn't really get into too much detail, life and everything, but the wheels did start turning in the old noggin, so I figured why stop at just one story. So now I'm giving a pre-Flashpoint fix to the entire run of Detective Comics by James Tynion IV. And, well, I'll try to be as succinct as possible, but you can be assured there'll be a lot better writing.
Listen carefully, and my words will shape images as clear as any TV show.
Changing the order a bit, we begin with the Victim Syndicate. The original story I describe as...
That's just lazy writing.
Of course, I describe many Tynion stories that way. Anywho, it's now mostly a Batman solo story, which begins with him seeing a noticeable uptick in anti-Cape sentiment. A citizen is more scared of him than the crook he saved them from. Gordon, back as commissioner, says vocal Bat supporters are being attacked. There's Bat symbol graffiti painted over with X's, etc. The Syndicate debut at the gala just as before. When Bats confronts them, the leader names the others before giving a more dramatic self-intro.
What's the matter, Batman? Don't recognize your first victim?
I'd say she's a walking blood clot.
The other allies aren't around since there's no real reason for their civilian IDs to be there. I know, it's tragic that we missed them sneaking off so an idiot can drool over a car.
Between Noxious's powers and some anti-Bat citizens that Lady Crow made fearless enough to fight him, Bats has his hands full. The Syndicate leave, declaring that the vigilante only inspires the worst in Gotham, so should unmask and hang up his cape, or they'll target anyone who endorses him. More people side with them in the following days, while Bruce looks into their pasts. It's mostly the same, but with specified metagenes activated where necessary, like for Mute, and flashback panels for each one. Without Clayface, I don't see a point for Glory Griffin to be involved, so either she's just there to show a garish victim of Batman for the public to see, or maybe tweak her powers to include, say, limited tactile psionics. She's all misshapen unless she touches someone, taking the form of someone from their memories and uses that in the group's campaign. First Vic remains an unknown, not matching anyone from Bruce's extensive logs from when he started. Tensions in the city continue to rise, and the victims are spotted around Gotham several times, but they're long gone before Bats arrives, thanks to aid from sympathetic people. Between that and dredging up files about people hurt because of villains out to get him, Bruce wonders that maybe they have some kind of point, that he does more damage the longer he's doing this, since the Syndicate were just ordinary citizens caught in the crossfire.
Admittedly, part of the animosity was originally fueled by the Night of the Monstermen, and while I didn't have a problem with that story, it could be omitted outright. Or included, with the events still happening like before, except Tim was not fake dead and Bats finds another way to defeat Hugo Strange without Clayface.
In a brazen move, the group holds Jim Gordon, Bat supporter number 1, hostage, along with Harvey Bullock. Both are tied next to the Bat signal, with the rest of the police held at bay inside by the Syndicate. Harv is known to dislike capes, so first Vic asks his opinion. Bullock responds that if any harm befalls his buddy Gordon or fellow cops, he'll rip the talking scab to pieces. A moment I think would be cool for Bullock, affirming his loyalties. Bats arrives and Firsties gives him an ultimatum. Unmask in front of an already set-up webcam, watch Jimbo die, or exchange his life for all the cops in the station, whom Noxious will poison. Batman says to check out the Syndicate's live feed being broadcast. Pointy Ears goes for option D. The other Syndicate members are one by one taken out by Black Bat, Red Robin, Spoiler, and Robin, each prepared for their abilities thanks to their mentor, while he's joined by Batgirl and Batwing on the roof. Bats has done his share of inspiring good in people, and even if he was as bad as the Syndicate claims, they didn't have to turn to terrorism. They could have chosen better regardless, he says.
He chose poorly.
They're arrested, sent to Arkham with power dampeners, but unfortunately only lose a little public support. The first Vic's mask stays on because of ambiguous disfigurement. That shtick still stays, but I'll get to that later.
Instead of a nonsensical wine party that leaves out key details of the good Bruce does, both in and outside the cape, and treats someone who knows nothing like they're on the ball, Bats could question himself when swamped by a sudden wave of negative outcry, but quickly remembering he doesn't need to do everything alone. All in about 3 issues instead of 5.
Rise of the Batmen.
That hurt here and here.
While on patrol, Bats is followed by a tiny drone that he eventually notices and disables. A shadowy figure somewhere is informed they lost a bat eye, and he mutters it was inevitable. Days later, Batman arrives at Kate Kane's apartment, showing her the inactive device. New gadget? Yes, but not mine. It trailed him for 2 hours before he caught on, and he don't like that one bit. It's cutting-edge tech with defenses against EMPs, but he was able to disassemble it and learn its secrets without risking any of his own. More are out there, watching other vigilantes in town.
I'm going to tell you right now, in this version, in this universe, hacking is not magic. And neither is Shakespeare.
He's explaining this to Kate because the Bat Crew works well together, proven by defeating the Syndicate and being on various teams, but the drones seem to be military, so he wants Kate's experience in that field to train the sidekicks to face such a threat. As a reminder, being pre-Flashpoint, the two are not cousins, and Kate doesn't know Bruce's identity, nor will he reveal it here. We'd still have the Belfry and Tim's various ideas, which he'd present to Bruce after the Syndicate managed to evade him so easily. There's one part of the base that's still in the works, dubbed the Mud Room, but Tim says it's a surprise. No, Clayface does not join up. It's explained to the sidekicks the situation with these mystery drones, and how Nightwing and Batgirl have seniority and are therefore exempt, so they're nya-nya-nya. Damian pushes back on the idea, even grapples with Batwoman in a show of defiance. However, after playing on his ego, Kate gets him to begrudgingly agree, and training begins. Over a week's time, she pushes each of them more and more, learning their weaknesses, except Black Bat. Reminded of her own training in the armed forces and how she was kind of like them at some point, except Black Bat, and each training session leaving the young heroes exhausted. Even Black Bat.
See, I'm not always playing favorites.
We'd also actually see the development and implementation of Tim's various plans for improving Gotham, like setting up the bullet pods, which goes slowly but surely. Eventually, Batman is captured, and as the team is figuring out how to respond, they're invaded by a colony squad led by Ulysses Hadrian Armstrong. This version is a few years younger than Tim, but after a growth spurt, did some strength and fight training. Since Drake last saw him, he'd been recruited by the colony as their chief strategist, revealing he located the Belfry as the tower is best situated for their crime-fighting efforts. He orders the team to surrender or be taken by force. The base's systems are locked down, and the team uses an emergency exit. The Robin would have preferred to fight, despite the odds. Black Bat understands, but priority one is getting Batman. He, meanwhile, is face-to-face with the colony's leader, Colonel Simon Samuels. Yeah, I made him a colonel. Why not?
Didn't see that one coming, did ya? Now he'll get more use than he actually did in the TEC run proper. Then again, Tynion has admitted to just creating characters for residuals from DC, so I could always come up with someone new to take his place. And as an even bigger departure from that particular writer, someone with an actual personality.
Simon, a former pupil of Jacob Kane, discovered who Batwoman was but kept them to himself, and eventually saw greater potential in the Dark Knight's methods beyond a single city, a government-backed Batman Inc. of sorts. We'd keep the same study of Batman footage and information, as there's probably more of it pre-Flashpoint, and add that the Colonel kept the drones from discovering the other secret identities out of courtesy, a show of good faith, for now. Samuels says that Gotham is about to be under siege, with more cities to follow, and would prefer Batsy's help, but can detain him and the team so they're out of the way. Bats declines, and that's when the team busts in. Bruce reprogrammed the drone he caught, kept it on him, and when taken, activated it so that it could send a signal to his allies, while still registering benignly as one of the colony's devices. Armstrong's team returns, unable to get access to the Belfry systems, and there's a big ol' brawl. The team fights their way out and eventually return to the Belfry to clean up. But Wendy has bad news. Briefly gaining access to the colony systems during the fight, thanks to a device, spoiler, stuck into one of their consoles, she found out they were planning the systematic killings of Gothamites suspected to be part of a League of Shadows, though the op has not yet been approved by their superiors. The list, compiled by Armstrong, still has many names unconfirmed as League agents, though he plans to launch soon anyway.
There's nothing good on TV, so not much else to do. No, the colony hasn't gotten streaming yet, they're still on a budget, and no one can agree on which service to use.
Our heroes begin evacuations and preparing for the colony strike, with their masks on and not saying their real names out loud, while Proxy tries to get back to their network to shut the directive down. But Armstrong has spent some of his time in the Black Ops organization learning some hacking skills. It's a kind of duel between the two, each one's move countered in some way. She succeeds in getting all the attack drones to go after a single target, but Ulysses locks her out after defining their target at the last second. Red Robin.
I'm sure that's not entirely realistic, as I don't know computer coding or hacking or the like. But given his writing, I'm pretty sure Tynion doesn't either, so I think it evens out.
Tim has an idea, telling the others to keep clear for safety as they take out pursuing drones. He takes a few hits on his way to the Belfry, and the first wave is down. But that's when the second closes in. The drones find him moments later in a previously unused area of the base. He fights them off, but their firepower is intense. The others arrive as the drones leave Red R motionless on the floor, and in a rage, Spoiler punches one to the wall as she goes to cradle his cold body, not believing he's gone. Which is good, because then he melts into mush. Inside a computer panel that also melts away, Red Robin gets up, shivering a little, revealing what the mudroom is. A collection of excess clay mass from the various clay faces over the years, infused with nanites to program for combat and training purposes. He'd been working out the kinks with Bruce and Proxy, and wasn't sure it would work. Fortunately, the drones were scanning for his physical form and not a heat signature, since the clay can get pretty cold. Later, Samuels reprimands Armstrong for letting his beef with Red Rob jeopardize their mission, and launching the drones without fully vetting the list to spare innocents. Despite the beat the enemy at all costs excuse, they're now in trouble with their superiors. For all his strategic acumen, Armstrong's got a lot to learn about being on a team. The olive branch to Batman was genuine, and capturing him was more to show what his troops can do, maybe impressing him enough to work together. But with the colony being recalled for a debrief, Gotham's on its own when the League of Shadows makes their move. In the Belfry, Batman compliments Tim on his ingenuity and suggests recruiting Batwing to help with the tech side of things. Drake agrees, but moves on to something he's been wanting to tell Bruce for a while. He got a scholarship to Ivy University, and he intends on going.
Still involving the same characters from the original story, give or take, with some surprises, and since there was no Flashpoint or Rebirth, no need for Dr. Manhattan to be DC's scapegoat, so we avoid Tim's unnecessary death fake-out. Instead of 7 issues long, this would be at most 4. We still got a ways to go, so tune in next time, and these episodes are going to be a little closer together this time. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.